Hello, I just thought I'd give you an overview of this Fuji GS645s professional medium format rangefinder before I say goodbye to this baby. It's a medium format rangefinder with a wide 60mm f4 lens, which is renowned for its sharpness, and it has a coupled rangefinder. So unlike the DSLRs where you're looking through the lens, when you look through the viewfinder, you're actually looking through this bit here, and you can compose even with the lens shut. But of course, don't take pictures when it's when the cap is on. Anyway, just an overview of this camera. It takes 120 or 220 films, and it shoots in portrait orientation by default. Of course, it's 6x45. This is why it's called 645. Depending on which film you use on this camera, you will have to set both the counter switch, which tells you how many shots you have. It does say here from a 120 film you get 15 exposures. From 220 film you get 30 exposures. You'll have to set the switch to the right type of film so that you know how many shots you have left. And also you have to set the back's dark slide thing. It's not officially dark slide, but I'll call it that. And what it does tells you on the outside that you're using either 220, or if you set it this way, you press this thing and then pull it, and now it's set to 120, so you know what at least what you have in there. And this is not just about knowing, really. It has a little bit to do with the thickness of the film, because it's not the same for the two types. Of course, you load the film like you do any 120 film 120 roll medium format camera. You put the roll, insert the paper here, set it to start. You will have to release the axes here to remove this, or put it back. Lock them when you're done. Okay, now because this has portrait orientation by default, it actually has two tripod mounts. One here which allows you to use it in portrait mode, and one here which allows you to use it in landscape mode. So if you need to shoot a landscape in on a tripod, you actually have a dedicated tripod mount for it. Okay. The rangefinder, the eyepiece here, I don't have the rubberized eyepiece, but if you lose yours, I've never had mine, you can actually get a Nikon one. It's exactly the same fit as Nikon. I've actually used my Nikon DR3 angle finder on this camera. It was brilliant. Yeah, the weakest point of this on this camera is actually the rangefinder, because the focusing spot in the middle is pretty small, and in some lighting conditions it's kind of difficult to see. It meters through this opening over here. This is where the meter goes. Speaking of which, here's the battery compartment. Okay, you fit two 1.5 button cells. These are the ones, and they're called LR44. Or in the case of Energizer, they're called A76 batteries. And these batteries only operate the meter. Okay, nothing else works on batteries. It's a mechanical camera, so if you don't have batteries, this will still work perfectly. You simply won't be able to meter. Now, the meter only tells you whether your settings are spot on, or whether you're overexposing or underexposing. That's the only thing it says. Kind of like the Olympus OMD thing, SLR cameras. Doesn't tell you the EV stop. It doesn't tell you anything else really. It's just that on spot, overexposed or underexposed. Okay. How to operate this camera? The whole thing is operated on the lens head, much like it's not the right comparison to make, but say like a large format camera where you have the film plane in the back, and all of the settings are on the lens, except of course for the lock button. This kind of just locks the shutter button, and when you unlock it, you can both press the shutter, and you can see the meter working. Okay. How to operate it? Of course, you just kind of cock and fire. You have 4 rings, with each one of them has this little handle thing. You have 4 rings on the front. First is the focusing ring. This camera focuses between 1 meter up to infinity. And then you have the aperture ring, which goes from f4 maximum aperture down to 22, f22. And then you have, of course, the ISO ring, hidden a little bit here. And this camera has covers an ISO setting from 25 up to 1600. And then you have the time ring, which is the fastest time being 500th of a second all the way up to 1 second, 1 full second. Okay. Now, this camera has a leaf shutter in the lens, so you can sync your flash with any of these speeds, even up to 500th. And you can sync either through, you can use a flash gun on the hot shoe or through the PC sync down here. Now, what if you want to use a shutter more than you need an exposure for more than 1 second? The way to do this is that, see this little T thing over here? When you cock the shutter, it goes up, and when you fire, it goes down. Now, what you actually do use this for is for the time mode. I'm going to set it to f4 and 500th of a second to make things clear, and hopefully you can see through the lens. Okay, so here's a very quick shutter, and if you want to do more than 1 second, what you do is you fire the shutter through the T. You just press it. It releases the shutter, and it stays open. And it stays open until you hit the button, shutter button again. Okay, so this kind of combination is used to do exposures more than 1 second. Doesn't matter how long, it will stay open forever until you press the shutter again. Okay, and this is how you do long exposures on this camera. The last thing I want to say is that there's a hidden timer switch here. Okay, so if you pull this down, that's a timer switch. I kind of missed it, you know, it's easy to miss because it was hidden behind one of these rings. So I don't remember which ring, but it was kind of hidden. I couldn't see it and only noticed it recently. Anyway, this is the Fuji GS645 medium format rangefinder. It's a wonderful camera designed by many. I have to say goodbye to this one. And I forgot to say, by the way, the lens is a bit wobbly. Okay, so this little wobble in the lens, that's normal. Okay, don't panic if you buy one and notice this wobble. They all come this way. Okay, kind of a feature, not a fault. I don't know what that is for, but anyway, this is the camera. Very sharp lens and a rangefinder. Hope you like this overview. If you like it, please subscribe. I'll be doing more whenever I put my hands on a camera.